Welcome to Our View, the podcast, where we're changing the conversation about disability one story at a time. Here at Our View, we're all about education, awareness, and shifting perspectives. With each episode, we dive into honest, meaningful conversations with individuals from across the disabled community, amplifying voices, sharing lived experiences, and challenging the way society sees disability. Because disability isn't a limitation, it's a part of the human experience. So pull up a seat and join us as we broaden the view and bring real, powerful stories into focus. This is Our View. This episode of Our View, the podcast, is brought to you by All In for Inclusive Education. All In for Inclusive Education is a New Jersey-based nonprofit organization that supports inclusive education for all students with disabilities as a fundamental civil right. All In for Inclusive Education views inclusion as a means to creating an equitable, socially just, democratic society. All In's vision is of a society where all individuals are valued members of their community and have opportunities to reach their maximum potential. For more information about All In, follow them on social media on Facebook at All In for Inclusive Education and on Instagram at All In for Inclusive Ed. Also, be sure to visit their website, www.allinforinclusiveed.org. I would like to welcome everyone back to a new episode of Our View, the podcast, where we aim to educate, raise awareness, and change the tone of conversation about disabilities. I am your host, Arthur Aston, and I'm happy to welcome my guest today, Allison Gollin, to the podcast. So, Allison, thank you for joining me for this conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm
Oh,
looking
you're
forward.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it as well. Allison, you are a presenter at the Winter Inclusion Conference,
Mhm.
presented by All In for Inclusive Education, who is the sponsor of this episode of the podcast. So we are happy to have you here today, as I said.
Thank
And to start off the conversation, can you share your story with us? Tell us who you are, what you do, some of your hobbies, things you like to do for fun.
you.
And
Yeah,
also, can you share what inclusive education means to you?
sure. So, as you said, I'm Allison Gollin. I'm a school social worker. I work in the Mount Laurel School District, and I've been in my role for the last 21 years. I've been working with students that have special needs, such as autism, ADHD, emotional regulation impairments, physical impairments. I've had experience with a lot of different types of inclusive settings, co-teaching settings, um, in large buildings, in small buildings. Currently, I'm working in an elementary school, so my caseload is kindergarten through fourth grade, and I am a child study team case manager. So I work every day, all day with children that have various needs in the building, as well as special education teachers and regular education teachers and administrators to best program for my students. And I've worked with self-contained classrooms that have only a few children to large regular education classrooms with 25 children where you walk in and can't tell who necessarily has special needs, but all of the children are learning together. And I think to answer your question about what does inclusive education mean to me, it means that all children are given the um, the grace to learn amongst each other. And just having had a child with dyslexia myself and knowing that her learning profile was different, but she never felt different. She never felt like she was excluded from anything in school. She might have been pulled out for a little bit to get her reading support, but was then integrated right back into the classroom in a way that never made her feel like she was less than or other. And I think that that's what inclusive education means to me. It's when children don't feel like they're different in a negative way. they feel like they're different because they're unique and everyone has a thing. Um, but it never makes them feel badly about themselves. And it also means to me that teachers see children as unique individuals who all have varying talents and ways that they express themselves.
That was excellent. That was great. I love that you said that they are given the grace. And that is
Yeah.
so true, just to not feel different,
Hmm.
and then like you said, everybody has a thing, we all have
Hmm.
something. And so to feel accepted and um feeling a part of the classroom of the group is so important for children, uh, especially at any age, and especially for the age group that you're working with,
Hmm.
the elementary school level. So thank you for that, and for the work that you're doing there.
And yeah, and just what you were saying about children feeling great about themselves. The reason that I love working with this age group is because they are so welcoming and loving towards each other. I mean,
Hmm.
um, uh, uh, in general.
Yes, yes,
There are always going to be outliers, but in general, these children, they get it, they understand. They might have siblings that have whatever, like a neuroatypicality or a physical disability, and they're just so accepting and wonderful. And that's why if you get in at the ground level, you're raising an entire generation of children that get it and that are
yes.
including.
I definitely agree. I was sharing the story with you about my nephew earlier,
Mhm.
and on some podcast episodes I recorded, a few days ago, I was talking about my friends that have children, and I don't have children of my own, but just seeing them explore like my world
Yes.
of being a wheelchair user and just the questions that they come up with. And as you said, they are so accepting because once I explain it to them, they're just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm. Oh, that's how you get around?
Yeah, they're like,
Cool.
oh, okay, you need that to get around.
Hmm.
Okay. And I can remember my friends who have children who are older now, teenagers, and graduating high school. I can remember them wanting to just always be so helpful with me if I was using my crutches, and they want to help, and so I made up a game with a few of them. I can remember where I would be getting up from a chair and I'd have them count, count to three, and then I'll get up, and so I would stand up, they would clap, and it was
Oh,
making a big
I
deal.
love
So,
that.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
because
that. I
I
mean,
was like
it's
they want to
people
be
helping
included.
people.
Yes, yeah, they want to be included, and I didn't want them they couldn't physically help me, but it was just like, let's be a part of this whole process. So like, what can you do to help? And
You can be a
at
cheerleader.
yes, exactly. Exactly. And they loved it. They got to count
Hmm.
for a little bit and clap, and
Hmm.
so, and just like you said, getting in at that ground level of when they're first starting school to explain things to them, and this whole world of, everybody has a difference. We have
Hmm.
differences, and that's okay, and we still are we can all get to know each other and be friends and find out that we have a lot
Yep.
in common. So,
Right. And we
yeah,
learn so much from each other. That
exactly.
that's what makes the world beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, in January, you were a presenter at the
Mhm.
Winter Inclusion Conference that was hosted by All In for Inclusive Education. And your presentation was titled, We're on the Same Team, Partnering with Parents When Students Struggle.
Yes.
So, can you give us a summary of what your presentation was about?
Yes, sure. So this part of what I'm doing as a school social worker is so energizing to me because what I started realizing was, and I've seen this over the years. I mean, I've been doing my job a long time where I've walked into rooms and felt like, okay, the teacher's not being particularly positive about some of the struggles that they're seeing. And I get why sometimes because they're so frustrated and feeling like they're not getting partnership with parents, right? So my presentation is about strengths-based speaking to the parents of students that are struggling. So we are on the same team, and we have to approach it from a positive standpoint and a positive frame of mind. So I talk about how I was trying to like build out the compliment sandwich. What was missing from the compliment sandwich? And I'm a fan of the compliment sandwich, right? I think that we need to go in with our positives, talk about our concerns, finish up with our positives. But the one thing that was really missing to me when I was kind of like digging deep into what do I feel is missing sometimes is the collaboration piece with parents, right? So, how can we spot a strength, discuss a struggle, relate the two, and then figure out how to collaborate on the home front so that we can then bring it back to what the strength is going to be, but we're all in it together. So, all in for for strengths-based speaking. Um, and I have a couple of different like models that I work from. I can talk about those if you want. I wasn't sure like how much you wanted me to talk about that.
Yes, so you can talk about those for sure. Yes.
Okay, so the thing that I discuss in my presentation is some tools for the tough talks, right? I want to give educators, whatever level educator you are, I want to give tools for those tough talks, things that I learned in my master's program for social work that I think transfer just to the rest of the world, right? That's active listening, really leaning in and showing through body language, but also through whatever however you're saying it verbally, that you're there for the parent and you understand that they might be seeing some things that are difficult too, slash, you're just wanting to partner with them. Okay, so that's active listening. Then there are compassionate ways that we can rephrase things to parents. Oh, it sounds as though you're seeing X, Y, and Z at home. Let's talk about how we can make that into a strength for your child. There's also de-escalation. Some parents, even if they don't come into the room like hot and up here, the conversation might get hot and up here. So, ways to de escalate and bring positivity to a conversation that might have gotten a little bit uncomfortable. Um, and then there's Goldilocks language that I like to talk about, which is coming in just right, right? You don't want to be too hot in your message and like so blunt that someone gets defensive. You don't want to be so cold in your message that you're like, oh, I've never met this child before and I don't even know anything about them. You kind of want to be just right with your message about making sure that the parent knows that you know their child and you're speaking from a place of love and caring. So those are some of those tools. And then they lead into they're embedded in the strengths spiral, which is something that is my alternate to compliment sandwich. And the strength spiral starts with strength, talking about a struggle, talking about how to connect those two. Like, for instance, I know your child's great at dance and she's a competitive dancer, and that's great. Sometimes I'm seeing that there's so much energy in the classroom that we're having a little bit of a tough time getting her to focus on things. But I think we can really connect those two by having her, when she's home, maybe doing some dance moves in order to then remember, I don't know, reading, maybe remember spelling words through kinetic movement, and then spiraling back to a strength. I think we're going to be okay. This is great. As long as we can partner together, I think we're going to have a lot to talk about in 8 weeks when we touch base again. So those are my messages.
Yes. I love the strengths and the struggles and relating the two and figuring out, how they're connected and what you can do to to help the student. And it's so important with doing these podcast episodes with educators on topics related to inclusive education. It's so important, and so many people have brought it up, the collaboration piece
Mhm.
of the school and the parent, the life, between the school life and the home life, and
Yes,
collaborating and working together because it all relates to the same, to the same child, to the same student.
and with the same
And
goal.
those, yes, yeah, and those lives of the home life and the school life, they do overlap, they interact with each other, with the same students. So it just
Mhm.
really makes sense to have parents involved in these conversations the way that you described, and it's all in, like you said, working toward the same goal, and setting these goals for the students. So thank you for that summary of your presentation. And at this point in the conversation, we are going to take a short break, just so our listeners can learn more all about All In for Inclusive Education, our sponsors for this episode. All In is offering a fee-based series of engaging online workshops. These workshops are designed to equip educators with the latest strategies to create inclusive classrooms, foster student skills and independence, and to build well-structured learning environments where all learners can succeed. The workshops are running throughout the summer and the fall, so visit www.allinforinclusiveed.org/webinars for more information and to register today. So we are back to continue our conversation today with Allison Gollin. And thank you again for this great conversation and sharing all about your presentation
Sure.
that you did earlier this year at the Winter Inclusion Conference for All In. And the next question I have for you is, can you share one or two takeaways that attendees would have learned from attending your presentation?
Mhm. Yeah. So, um, one of the main things that I like to impress upon educators is you are always going to be talking about someone's baby, right? Even if this is a child that is unfortunately driving you crazy in your classroom, you are speaking to the parent, and a mama bear or a papa bear are going to come out if you come in and immediately seem irritated and or um, get the parent to be in a defensive posture. So this is someone's baby, and maybe that family, and I've certainly worked with enough families myself where I've been like, oh my gosh, I would not parent this child this way, or gosh, I want to take that child home because to me, the way that I would love would be so different. But that parent, whether it's a biological parent, adoptive parent, a guardian through the court, is protective of and loves that baby. So just always, no matter how old that child is, always go in knowing that. That's why it's so important to speak in a positive, strengths-based way. People are going to hear your message a lot more clearly and with a lot less defenses if you're speaking to the human side of this. The other thing that I think I would want people to take away are the three C's, which I talk about. So being clear in your message, being concise in your message, and being compassionate in your message. It's really important not to talk in tons of acronyms and things that like I've been in meetings where and understandably the teacher is immersed in it all day long, but they're talking to the parent as though the parent understands what decoding and encoding and all these things are where that's not what things were called when we were younger. So you have to be very clear about what your message is going to be, concise in your delivery of it so they don't tune out, and then the compassion piece.
Yes, thank you. And it's so funny when you were just saying that, that's not what things were called when we were
Yeah,
younger. It's so true because
I know.
sometimes people will start explaining things, having these conversations on the podcast, people will start explaining things, and I'm like, oh, that's what that is? Oh,
That's what that
okay.
is, right? So, right, decoding is sounding words out. And when I first started hearing people talk, I went to social work school. I didn't go to school
Right.
for education. So I was like, what the heck? Decoding. Oh, okay, now I understand
Right.
it. But if you're talking for 5 minutes about the fact that a child's having difficulty with it and the parent doesn't know what that even means,
Hmm.
it's yeah. But
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it's like anything where we're just living
Yes.
in our career. So
Right. Yeah, that's so true. So thank you for that, for the summary and then also the takeaways of your presentation. And the last question I have for you is, can you provide some useful resources on topics related to inclusive education or, collaborating between the school and the home, the parents, and all of those
Mhm.
things, any resources that you use, movies, books, websites.
Mhm. Yeah, so there's one book that I think is really helpful. It's called um, When Calling Parents Isn't Your Calling. So, for the more hesitant or uncomfortable people in terms of making those phone calls, that book walks you through it nicely. And then as far as other resources, I mean, I do professional development, so I could come into schools and help out with that. I think that one of the main things that that teachers, because a lot of times teachers feel like they have to do everything themselves on their own, but reaching out to colleagues, administrators, school counselors, child study team people, in order to run by them what your concern is. And then I'm going to be meeting with a parent. Can you maybe sit in with me? Or can we prep in order to have this meeting? Because prepping before a meeting, I've found to be vital in making sure that everyone who's coming into the meeting is on the same page. So I know that's not necessarily like an outside resource, but as far as what you can do in a school building, it's relying on each other and getting feedback from peers and colleagues so that you can prepare yourself best for meetings.
Thank you. And yes, I totally agree. Like utilizing your own network that you have is a great
Mhm.
resource,
Mhm.
always. And I'm always I always like to ask that question because I always feel like, everybody can learn more about, any topic and every
Yes.
topic that is that we discuss here. So I always like to ask that question and just to see where our guests go for for their resources. And as you said, the one book, and then utilizing your own network that you have there within your school of all the other educators and administrators there as a great
Mhm.
resource as well. So thank you for those great recommendations.
Thank you.
And thank you for this conversation today,
Thank
Allison. I
you
really
too.
enjoyed it, and look forward to all the work that you're doing. And if you're ever at a all-in conference, I will make sure I find you and
Oh,
introduce
yes,
myself. So
I will be at the one in the
in
summer one
May,
at Kane.
yes,
Yeah, so I'll
yes,
definitely introduce myself to you our
yes,
next
yes,
time.
great.
It'll be
I will be
great.
there as well. Yes,
Wonderful.
but yes, you take care, and I will be in touch soon.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
You're
Take care and
welcome.
have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Our View, the podcast, where we amplify the voices and stories of those in the disabled community, one conversation at a time. If this story moved you, taught you something new, or sparked a different perspective, we'd love to hear from you. Write a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Follow us on all social media platforms at Our View for Life 25. At Our View, we believe that disability is not a limitation. It is a powerful part of the human experience. So until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep seeing the world through our view. This episode of Our View the podcast is brought to you by All In for Inclusive Education. All In for Inclusive Education is a New Jersey-based nonprofit organization that supports inclusive education for all students with disabilities as a fundamental civil right. All In for Inclusive Education views inclusion as a means to creating an equitable, socially just, democratic society. All In's vision is of a society where all individuals are valued members of their community and have opportunities to reach their maximum potential. For more information about All In, follow them on social media on Facebook at All In for Inclusive Education and on Instagram at All In for Inclusive Ed. Also, be sure to visit their website, www.allinforinclusiveed.org.